Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, July 2nd. So we have another day with the moon in fiery Leo. This is definitely helping us get to the root of the matter in our heart space, in our heart chakra. We are supposed to be aligning with our highest truth. We are supposed to be raw and vulnerable, tapping into our creativity, tapping into boldness and bravery and courage to go after what it is that we are now realizing we are very passionate about and we very much desire. We have 10 different aspects taking place here today, and 8 of them involve the moon. The moon is going to trine Chiron very early on in the morning, playing off of the very tough energy that we left yesterday off with. You may remember that Mars squared Pluto, putting us in a situation where we're all in competition for power, for control, for leadership. And of course, that could have ended very not nice in some relationship dynamics if you were unable to avoid that confrontation. But what we know to be true is regardless of whether the power struggle was within or outside of us, the moon trining Chiron is suggesting that we've made some progress in healing. And again, the first step to healing is identifying the actual problem. The moon trining Chiron, the wounded healer, is a blending of fire energies. We have the moon in Leo, fired up, bold, brave, courageous, ready to express oneself, standing in one's truth to be heard. We have Chiron, the wounded healer, showing us where it is we've accumulated some ego wounds, our pain, our trauma, and how intertwined into our identity we've actually allowed those experiences to be. We have Mercury trining Saturn. Here's a thing. Later on today, we have Mercury squaring Neptune, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Mercury trining Saturn is a setup. It is a setup for us to spotlight the very practical side of things, where our work is concerned, where realistic thinking and practical step-by-step approaches are concerned. We are definitely able to open up and learn a little bit better, communicate a little bit better, and help us ground, help us center our thinking so we can actually have a complete thought. Now, conversations likely are going to be a little bit agitated. It is best to step away from those heart-to-hearts that the moon and Leo wants us to have right now. But here's the thing. We do have a lot of conversations that need to be had inside of us, whether it is in our own inner dialogue, bossing us up, getting us back down to reality, focused on what it is that we need to get focused on, or having the conversation and dialogue that we're planning to have with other people in our head first. This is something we have to rehearse, something we have to filter. Why? Because it's very important. Saturn rules over our roles and our responsibilities, and right now we're focused on building a bridge from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. But some thoughts, some ideas actually need to be expressed outwards. We can't continue to walk around pretending like everybody can read minds. Although some of us can, we can't expect that from other people. So we do have to get down to the nitty-gritty and really kind of skew our perspective, hone in on the step-by-step process that we need to take in order to check some tasks off, check some boxes off, address some problems, address some conversations. Now, this particular aspect is going to be a little bit somber, a little bit heavy, a little bit weighted. Of course, we have some very serious topics and themes that we have to kind of be able to articulate within ourselves, preparing for that energy to be expressed outwards. And we also have to be a little bit more realistic with our expectations. Of course, we've been put in a situation where we had to dream the biggest dream possible in order to get us out of the funk that we were in. But now we're starting to see that maybe we kind of bit off more than we can chew, that our expectations were a little bit too high, a little bit too big. This is essentially us bringing ourselves down a couple of pegs before we are in a situation grounded, confident, and clear on how it is that we think and feel so that we can communicate that outwardly. So the moon goes ahead and squares Uranus. A square is a conflict. It is a competing energy. Of course, the moon in Leo is our emotions. We have Uranian energy, the shock, the awe, the awakener of the zodiac. In Taurus energy, really kind of shaking us up and waking us up to our physical circumstances. What is working, what isn't, in our routines, in our relationships, in our money matters. This is going to put us at odds with what it is that we actually want, need, and desire, especially emotionally, especially especially in those relationships, and kind of feeding off of the earlier energies of Mercury trining Saturn with that very serious, very realistic, very somber approach to our problems and what it is that we need to address. This is definitely going to add a layer of confusion, but as you know, confusion comes right before clarity comes as well. We have to have that breakdown before we have that breakthrough. The moon is going to make a harmonious aspect with Neptune. This is a beautiful energy because this aligns us with our higher self, with our soul's mission, our soul's purpose. We're able to move into la la land, grasp that vision, grasp that dream, remember why it is that we want to manifest certain scenarios for ourselves and bring it back down into the heart space that moon in Leo absolutely rules over. We have to continue to fuel the fire of inspiration, of motivation, of just being pure happy and experiencing a love, a joy for life once again, if that means that we have to constantly project ourselves in the future and see what kind of situation that we're living in the future. To bring that back down in the present moment is really just going to help that fire stay kindled. It's going to help us continue to be inspired, keep that passion level up, and really just make sure that we're truly in alignment, raw and vulnerable with our truth, with our vision, with our dream. Now, the moon is going to square the true node, which is going to be a little bit of a conflict because we don't know where to go from here. Yes, we're identifying both good and bad elements. Yes, we're identifying the steps needed to take a logical and practical approach to actually bringing certain elements to life. But at this particular time, we might have a better vision of the end goal and not have a sweet clue on where to start on actually bringing that into fruition. That's okay. We're not going to let ourselves get too frustrated over this, but we do have to kind of remind ourselves that we have to go to big picture, bring it back down in the present moment, figure out where it is that we can take big picture, chop it up into small, manageable pieces to tackle in the here and now. Even taking a baby step in your here and now, aligning with the right vision, the right attitude, the right, narrative that we need to have inside of us to even bring certain elements into our physical life is a win. But right now, we're going to be a little bit confused on what the next step should be. So here's where Mercury squares Neptune. I mentioned this earlier before when we talked about Mercury trining Saturn. This particular aspect brings a totally different vibe. And as we kind of progress through the day, it's going to get more wishy-washy. The reason why I say this, Mercury, again, in its place of power in Gemini, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information communication, and how it is that we express ourselves. Neptune, our higher self, our soul self, metaphysical world, creativity, dreams, vision. It's not logical or practical. And that's what Mercury really depends on, is making sense of the here and now. Our dreams don't make sense. Our gut feeling doesn't make sense. We can't compartmentalize it in logical and practical terms. So Mercury bumping into Neptune, although there is an element where there is a positive chance that we are able to interpret our dreams, our vision a little bit better and kind of apply logic and practicality to that, what we're actually going to find is that it's very hard to think. It's very hard to see things clearly. It's very hard to articulate our wants, needs, and desires within ourselves, let alone to other people. It's going to be hard to figure out the direction that we're supposed to take, that we want to take. It's going to be hard to follow the instructions, the path, the plan, if you will, that we've been trying to formulate. We have a skewed perception of reality with Neptune's influence. Keep in mind, Neptune is now retrograde, giving us a little bitch slap of reality. But now we're looking at our lives because we can't believe that we just woke up and we're here. And there's some elements like, how did we get here? How did I ignore this for so long? So now we're trying to make sense of why things don't make sense. And we may be overly confused about it because we're trying to be practical and logical, but a lot of things don't make sense. We are heavily influenced by this Neptune energy that constantly wants us to dream a bigger dream, constantly wants us to live in la la land. But the rose-colored glasses have been slapped off, making it hard to do so. And, wishful thinking is great. Having hope is great. But if it's not backed with actual logical, practical thoughts and actions and a plan, we're going absolutely nowheres with that. So we may be dealing with a little bit of blurriness, a little bit of confusion, having a hard time being able to kind of discern the left from the right, the up from the down, what's true, what's lies. That's okay. We're going to ride this wave. It is important that we get in this, I'm going to say, overwhelming, confusing funk, because it helps us break down what is actually true to us. What is our reality? What is real? So we are opening our minds up, but that comes with having our minds feel like they're being kind of pressurized and cracked down. We are, on the end of this, going to be a little bit more open to seeing perspectives in a different way, having different options, different possibilities available to us. But again, it comes from the shedding process of getting real with oneself and being able to discern, again, lies from truth, up from down, left from right, black from white. So we are kind of, moving through trying to figure out where ground zero is for us, where it is that we are balanced, grounded, in the middle of all of these things. And again, feeling a little bit more stabilized in this very confusing process that we're currently going through. We have the moon bumping into Jupiter, which is going to amplify the confusion. Jupiter magnifies everything. He wants us to grow. He wants us to expand our minds and our heart space, because this is, again, the moon in Leo, the heart and soul of the zodiac. But Jupiter at this point is riding off of the confusion, the deception, the, not knowing if we're coming or going energy from Mercury squaring Neptune. So we're going to feel a little bit more dramatic than things actually are. Things are going to appear like they're a bigger problem than they actually are. Things are going to appear like they're a little bit more delusional than they actually are. Just think of the side mirror on your vehicle, right? Like objects may appear closer than they actually are, type of thing. This is very much the vibe with Jupiter in this aspect. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and joy. She is in Gemini, trying to sort out her options, her choices, open up her mind, experiment a little bit, figure out what she wants, what she needs, what she desires. And this particular interaction is really getting her in touch with her heart space, the raw truth, the raw, vulnerable truth of what makes us happy, what brings us joy, where it is that we can lighten the mood, lighten the vibe again. That moon in Leo is very playful, really embodying that childlike energy, that childlike curiosity, which of course the Gemini energy that Venus is in very much promotes as well. So here's where things get a little bit tense again. The moon is going to sit across from and oppose Saturn, who is retrograde in Aquarius energy. So Leo and Aquarius energy sit across from one another in the zodiac. Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac, is very concerned with oneself, one's identity, the uniqueness that makes us us, really putting our own wants, needs, and desires before everybody else's, while the Aquarian energy is where it is that we fit in the group, in the collective, where it is that the roles and responsibilities from society, from the team, from the group, trump our own individual wants, needs, and desires. So the moon, again, our emotions, very connected to what it is that we want, need, and desire, what we need to fully speak in our truth, what we need to express from our heart space, sitting across from, opposing, having this little bit of conflict with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who's all about the roles and responsibilities in Aquarius energy that has to do with the roles and responsibilities of society, of the group, of the team. And that puts us in a position where we have to realize that our own wants, needs, and desires are taking a back seat once again to the social pressures that we currently have upon us. Now, this doesn't mean that it has to be this way, but we do need this contrast. We do need this conflict in order to highlight where it is that we're giving up too much of our individualism, of our uniqueness, of our skills, our talents, just to blend into the world, where it is that we're sacrificing our own wants, needs, and desires for our own personal happiness and journey for other people's sake, and where it is that we have to kind of balance the scales, because we can't be too selfish, because of course we are just a drop in the ocean. Everything that we do in our individual realm has a super impact and consequence on the collective in the energy that we share. But we also can't deprive ourselves of what we want, need, and desire, what actually makes our heart happy, brings us joy and pleasure, because that is putting the collective at a deficit as well. If we're not happy, that energy feeds into the collective ocean of energy, which means that we are at a lower vibration than we would be if everybody just minded their own business, stayed in their own lane, did what was happy and healthy for themselves. We would see a total transformation in the energy in the collective. So we're going to end the day off with another aspect with Neptune, this time the moon and Neptune. And this is providing us a little bit of an opportunity to walk the walk and talk the talk. So what I mean by this is that there's likely an outside activation, an outside trigger in our exterior realm that's going to kind of give us an opportunity to fully express ourselves, either bringing some elements of the dream and vision that we're looking to manifest into manifestation by speaking about it, by sharing about it, or we're going to be put in a situation where we're realizing that the life, the reality that we've actually been living has been a diluted scenario that we have created in order to protect our own heart space. Now, hopefully it is let's say the first option, because I feel like there's an opportunity for growth there. But we're also in a brand new month, with the lesson of 7, which is relationships and how it is that we learn about ourselves in relation to other people and to the world around us. And sometimes we have to learn about ourselves by being put in tough positions where we're uncomfortable to speak the truth, or we're realizing that we've diluted the truth in order to make ourselves comfortable. So if you haven't listened to July's energy forecast intro, definitely take a listen to that. It'll give you a little bit of a bigger picture on what we can expect to experience for the month. But basically, we're wrapping today up with a little bit of inner dialogue, a whole lot of pressure from the weight of the roles and responsibilities that we're currently feeling. And realistically, we're just trying to figure out how to move forward in honoring ourselves and staying true to ourselves and speaking our own truth and expressing ourselves with confidence, with courage, and with clarity.